We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this college football rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit that $ where you make that comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls later in the show. Welcome, everybody. Tuesday, March 25th. If you did not catch our live show late last night into the early mornings, go check it out after this live show. Go check it out. Got a lot of good responses in the chat room. I always appreciate that. I do read the comments. Today's show, by the way, we're gonna be talking a little bit about Florida State again. Interesting story coming out of Tallahassee about Florida State being interested in the local hospital. I do not know the whole story of this. In fact, I'm not even covering the original part of the story today. I'm covering the update part of the story. it's interesting. I think it's a story that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because this is one of those things in which, I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer at all. I am more convinced today than I was last night. I'm not a believer that the Big Ten is instigating expansion with Florida State at this time. But I am a believer that Florida State knows what they need to do, what they need to try to get done to become a more attractive university, an amazing brand, a powerful brand, a valuable brand in college athletics, an emerging research. But you know that the Big Ten has communicated with them. So has the SEC. Richard McCullough, he knows. They know. Florida State knows exactly where they sit. In a pretty good spot. And I think this hospital story is all part of the big story here for Florida State. We are going to get to that. We're just going to cover it a little bit more at the back end of our monologue. Beginning this show, we're going to talk about how Andrew Luck has made his move. The general manager, Stanford. This is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the first general manager to fire their head football coach. Now, a general manager is this new position, right? A new position. I mean, a position that in a lot of these athletic departments, I shouldn't say a lot of them. In some of these athletic departments, the general manager might be over the top of the athletic director. And a lot of them, he's going to be underneath the athletic director. But these general managers, these high-priced general managers are going to wield a lot of power. And remember, Stanford doesn't even have a current athletic director. But I think this is the first time a general manager has canned the head coach. Troy Taylor was fired today by Andrew Luck, and we are going to go through that story. We did talk about Troy Taylor last week. I said I think he's going to be gone. He should be gone. And pretty much everybody in the chat room agreed. I mean, my goodness. He's telling he was alleged to have tried to get somebody, an NCAA compliance officer, to lose their job. And he was also alleged to have bullied people on his staff. So, and then he was, Stanford, they had a third party investigate it. A third party determine what the next step should be. This third party believed that the head coach should get some coaching on basically being a leader, being an adult. The head coach received some coaching. And then supposedly Troy Taylor said, okay, I did it. I went through the coaching. I now understand. And then Andrew Luck was hired as the general manager, and down goes Taylor. Andrew Luck has made his move. We are going to be talking about who I believe is number one on Stanford's Hot Board 1.0. Now, this name has already been out there in public. So I'm not the first one saying this name. Okay? I'm not the first one. I think this candidate makes a lot of sense. Or someone like the candidate I am going to release at the beginning of the monologue. So we've got our hot board 1.0. We've only got one name on that hot board. The chances of this person becoming the new head coach, probably not all that great. But it is the name that we're going to put number one on the hot board. We don't have any other names. I think this name makes a lot of sense. We're going to go through that. So we're going to talk about the Florida hospital, Florida State University trying to possibly get a hospital under their umbrella. We're going to be talking about Andrew Luck making his move. And then in the middle part of the monologue, we are going to use a Football Scoop article on Greg Schiano, Rutgers head coach. There is one part of that article which Schiano talks about the clearinghouse. And I have no idea. I don't think anybody has any idea. I know I don't. I have no idea how this clearinghouse is going to work, how it's going to operate, how tight it is going to be, how loose it's going to be. But for all the changes that are going to come about for at least a year before this gets nullified in the courts, challenged in the courts, destroyed in the court, at least for a year, I think the clearinghouse and how it operates and how Deloitte does this and how tight does it get on the ruling of name, image, and likeness deals for these student athletes, how this is operated, I think is the biggest story of everything. And you kind of can sense that Coach Schiano is hoping that it's run very tight. We will talk about that as well. And then, of course, we'll take your comments. Your super chats are always first. I appreciate it, Mr. Tungate. And we're going to take your phone calls later in the show. You can talk about what we talked about last night. You can talk about anything you want in college football when you call when we get the phone lines open and you call the fat guy from Minnesota. So let's get to it. Let's do a roll call first. Mr. Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate the generosity. Boy, you have been busy. Yes, I've been busy. I'm going to be busy tomorrow. I'm going to be busy. Yeah. But I am going to take the little general out to get some food after this live show is over. She's still unpacking. She's still trying to get herself back in I made her steak and eggs for breakfast. We're going to go out and grab a good salad someplace early this evening after this live show. Yeah, I am busy. But I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you for the super chat, Ricky. Thank you for helping us keep our lights on to reach our goals. Thank you, Mr. Tungate. I do appreciate it. Let's do a quick roll call. I appreciate everybody coming on in at the beginning of a live show, late afternoon on a Tuesday, March 25. The Walking Geek is in the house. Go Utes, Steel Austin. Go Clemson, Bo Weevil. Joaquin Morales, hey Greg, and PATC family, smash that like button. Please smash it. If you get an opportunity, Smash it. Nathan Campbell. Hi, Greg. Hi, Nathan. LSU Tiger Ryan Brooks had to drop last night's show to jump on this one. Well, you better jump back on that last night's show because it got hot and heavy, Mr. Brooks, LSU Tiger. My swivel don't move that fast, Greg. Go Tigers. Brian Bush. He's not a believer that Florida State's going to get to the P2. Humble Bumble Duck. Hi, Greg, and all from sunny and beautiful Willamette Valley. Humble Bumble Duck, it's nice to see you back in the chat room. Nice to see you, my friend. Charlie Atwood, still loving that Penn State dominance. Charlie, okay, I need you to start focusing on the Nittany Lions football team. Because as you know, 2 weeks ago, we did the PATC way too early SEC prediction of order to finish. We had Texas number 1. We just did the Big 12 last Saturday, I believe, a couple days ago. We got Arizona State number 1. This week, we're going to be doing the Big 10. And you know, Charlie Atwood, I'm going to have the Nittany Lions. You know where I'm going to have the Penn State Nittany Lions. Focus. This is it, baby. This is got to be Franklin's year. Everything is lined up. Everything is lined up. Penn State, we are. Penn State, we are PATC's number 1 in the Big Ten's prediction of order to finish. So buckle up. S. Farmer, thanks for coming on in. Greg from South Carolina. Go Tigers. Thanks for coming on in, Farmer. Appreciate it. Buckeye Caleb Ramirez. Casper fan is in the house. Jeff Olson, the evil Badger. Stephen Clark. Jay Chapman. Nittany 89. Big Gun Shop. Daniel Gorby. We're going to go through that article. Daniel Gorby, Florida State Health, interested in Tallahassee Memorial to help with their research initiatives. Interesting story. Stanford doing things fast the way Michigan never did. Rock and Rant, Mr. Hurricane is in the house. Thanks for coming on in, my friend. MGC Sooner. Amazing Blue. Christopher Mercado. Lee, the Observer, is in the house. Deadeye, the Evil Badger, Ryan Willie on Wisconsin. Again, congratulations, Ryan Willie and the Badgers. Congratulations to Wisconsin's women's hockey program, a national title. The 4th since 2019. Congratulations, Ryan Willie. The Almighty Finn is in the house. Holy smokes. Chef Maul. Coy. Thanks for coming on in, Coy. Haven't seen you in a while. Amazing Blue. Look at that. My goodness. Look at that incredible generosity. Helping us keep the lights on. Wow. Tracy FSU. Nice to see Tracy FSU. Nittany 89. Chris Evans. Marquis Crenshaw, Anthony Zappin. We're all gifted a membership. When you get an opportunity, please say thank you to the Amazing Blue for his incredible generosity. All of you. All 5 of you are officially knighted Cloak and Dagger. That means you can go to our library of early P Cloak and Dagger episodes from members only. Go check them out. We also dropped an episode today, episode 427, that everybody can see. Talking about TCU's ultimate goal. So if you've not have seen that episode after this live show, go back into our library and go check out episode 427. 427, TCU's ultimate goal. Again, thank you, Amazing Blue. I appreciate it. Roman Maroney, Steak and Eggs. Well, the steak we bought at the grocery store quite a while ago. We've had it up in the freezer. Maria's been gone for 3 weeks. A small little steak. Had some thickness to it, and I cut it in half. So Maria had a half a small steak, 2 eggs. I had the same thing. It sounds a lot more. It was not an expensive breakfast at all. Let's put it that way. And I did not add anything else to it. So I was pretty cheap, actually. Lee is in the house. Daniel Gygax, Mr. Mountaineer, Chad Bracey, Marketex. We really need to find a way to get Stanford into the Big Ten. Azon, the Kid, Rock, Chalk, J, Hawk. Okay, let's get to it, guys. Thank you so very much. Ricky Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, Mr. Wolverine, Amazing Blue. Thank you guys for your generosity. I do appreciate it. Okay, and again, when we see super chats, I try to get to them as quick as I possibly can. I appreciate all the support out there. Let's get to the number one story. Andrew Luck makes his move. Andrew Luck makes his move. Pete Thamel. Sources: Stanford has fired coach Troy Taylor, per me and another person at ESPN. Pete Thamel goes on to say general manager Andrew Luck on the coaching change at Stanford after continued consideration. It is evident to me that a program needs a reset. In consultation with university leadership, I no longer believe that Coach Taylor is the right coach to lead our football program. Now, let's be perfectly clear. Stanford does not have an athletic director. Andrew Luck did not hire Coach Troy Taylor. Andrew Luck put out a statement. I took the role of Stanford football general manager with a strong vision for building a new winning era for our football program. Stanford has always set the standard for excellence with our university's unique leadership in both athletics and academics, and I have no doubt that our program's our best days lie ahead. And you can read the whole, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but Andrew Luck puts out a statement. So, as we talked about last week, Troy Taylor being gone, not a surprise. Not a surprise. Who do I got as head coach? Who do I got on the hot board 1.0 for the new head coach of Stanford? PATC's hot board. Well, first of all, what is the type of head coach do you think Andrew Luck is going to hire? What personality, what type of resume, background do you think Andrew Luck is going to hire at Stanford? Andrew Luck becomes a general manager. Now, there has been general managers before, but I think we all understand there's really a new position in these athletic departments. General manager looking at the budget, looking at the rev share, making decisions on contracts, things of that nature. Michael Smith says NFL experience. I think so. I think that's where Andrew Luck is going to look. I think Andrew Luck is going to go to an NFL head coach because Andrew Luck is going to operate at least the football program in a very professional manner. He's going to emulate a lot of what the NFL does. Andrew Luck we all know what Andrew Luck has done in his career. A great quarterback, got injured, so it really affected his total career in the NFL. But a spectacular quarterback in college and the NFL when he could play. He's already made a decision. He's already ruled against Troy Taylor. He's already fired him. So I think he's going to go with somebody with NFL experience. So take it another step. Again, I'm just speculating here, guys. I am just speculating here. And I'm not the first person who has mentioned this particular name. So I'm not the first one. But I think it makes a lot of sense. I think he's probably going to hire somebody that reminds him of himself. Right? I mean, we're all guilty of that. Hopefully you learn in time to open up your window, open up your buckets of talent that you can hire, open up your bandwidth of interest in looking for talent. But I think right out of the gate, he's a new general manager, the first general manager to fire their head coach. I think he's going to be looking at someone with NFL experience. I think he's going to be looking at a former quarterback. And I think he's going to be looking at a former quarterback who's got a lot of head coaching experience in the NFL and someone that Andrew Luck can relate to. So let me take it another step farther. An NFL head coach, someone with a lot of experience as a head coach, someone who's a former quarterback, someone who's not a head coach of the NFL right now, who hasn't been, and somebody who is what I would consider an intellectual. Somebody who's got a high IQ, like Andrew Luck. Somebody that Andrew Luck can connect with on an intellectual level. Somebody that Andrew Luck wants to bring a head coach in, wants to run this thing like an NFL enterprise. So, no, not John Gruden, not Bledsoe. I think the guy that we have number one on Stanford's hot board list is Jason Garrett. He was a head coach of Dallas for 9 or 10 years. Jason Garrett is a former quarterback at Princeton. You can say whatever you want about Jason Garrett, but he's a pretty calm, level-headed, intellectual, and I think there's going to be I think Jason Garrett's going to get a call, and if he gets an interview with Andrew Luck, I think I've got him number one. Now, I've heard his name before Troy Taylor got fired. In fact, if you go to I don't remember what message board, I think it was 247. If you go to 247 Stanford, which is basically a barren desert, not a whole lot of people are a part of that site, but a writer has Jason Garrett as one of the candidates. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, the chances of Jason Garrett actually being the guy when it's all said and done with, obviously it's not all that great. There's going to be a lot of names. Andrew Luck is going to, he knows a lot of people in the NFL. But I think somebody like Jason Garrett, I think makes a lot of sense. Somebody with NFL, coming from the NFL. So my guy, what we've got at college football's peek around the corner hot board 1.0 for Stanford. We got one guy on the list, and his name is Jason Garrett. Let me know how wrong we got it here at peek around the corner. I'm going to clean something up here, and then we're going to go to our second story. Our second story is Schiano. Greg Schiano, the head coach of Rutgers, but it's not about him so much. It's about the clearinghouse. The clearinghouse, the Deloitte clearinghouse, how it operates, how tight or loose they operate, I think is going to set the tone for how college football landscape is going to be run here for at least the next year or two before the courts challenge the rev share, the salary cap, the clearinghouse, before all this gets challenged and most likely destroyed. I think the clearinghouse piece to this is really going to be impactful. I might be wrong. I could very well be wrong, but I think it's going to play a heavy part in how college football looks, the competition of college football. Because if it's run tightly, if you are a student athlete and you have a deal with a collective, either be with inside the athletic department or outside the athletic department, and a collective that runs outside of the athletic department, there's not going to be too many of those around anymore, but I think they're going to still be viable. Regardless, the money, the compensation that you get beyond the rev share, beyond the Alston stipend, beyond the scholarship, the NIL money that you can get beyond the rev share, the Alston and everything else, it's got to go through a clearinghouse. It's got to pass through a clearinghouse. And so we don't know how tight this is. Like, is the clearinghouse going to be like, are they going to rubber stamp $2 million deals, $500,000 deals, $1.5 million deals to the student athletes? Or are they going to be looking under the hood and saying, this does not compute. This is more pay for play. This is not true name, image, and likeness, market value out there in the world. I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't think anybody does, but how it plays out is going to be incredibly impactful for 2025 recruiting, transfer portal, going into 2026. Let's get to the article. Let's get to the article. The Almighty Finn says Lane Kiffin. I don't think Lane Kiffin would, there's going to be a lot. I don't think the high-named head coaches in college football would even attempt. I don't think they would take the Stanford job. I think it's going to have to be somebody trying to get back into the profession, or a highly respectable offensive coordinator that still quite hasn't gotten his opportunity. I just think it's going to be a former head NFL coach. Okay, let's get to the Schiano story. Not really a Schiano story. But I want to talk about the clearinghouse. Big Ten coach, football scoop. Teams in our league paid $30 million for their rosters in 2025. In 24. Greg Schiano is eager to see if the House settlement is formally passed next month and its potential changes to name, image, and likeness payments. And I don't think I don't think this is going to. I don't think this is being talked enough. Is it going to be easier or more difficult for a Big Ten program to spend $30 million on salaries, on payments, on compensation for your football players? Easier or more difficult? The rev share, that's $17 million, $15 million, $14 million is going to go to your football roster. And then the other parts of that $20.5 million rev share is going to go to your basketball program and whatever you choose. Minnesota, for example, Mark Coyle just announced today that rev share is going to be shared with 5 different sports programs at the University of Minnesota. Football, men's basketball, women's basketball, men's hockey, and volleyball. Those 5 sports. So a lot of people are going to be spending about $15 to $13 to $12 million of their rev share to the football players. And then the rest of it is going to have to be, well, your NIL, your ability to get NIL money into these players' hands. And all that has to go through a clearinghouse if the deal to your student athlete is more than $600 a year. So a lot of it's going to be dependent on how tight this clearinghouse is, how loose it is. Be it during his first stint atop Rutgers football or now in his second, Greg Schiano never has had the largest pool of resources to make his programs competitive. Still, Schiano closed his first tour of duty at Rutgers with winning seasons in 6 of his final 7 years. And he posted back-to-back bowl appearances in the Scarlet Knights' rebirth. But Schiano, understandably, is hoping, and he's not the only one. Most head coaches are hoping that a final ruling on the long-anticipated House settlement, April 7th to be exact, will perhaps generate a bit more equal footing in college athletics, specifically power conference football, for the schools who opt in to the revenue sharing agreement. The interesting thing is going to be what happens to NIL, Schiano said this week at the onset of Rutgers spring practice. If everybody says, well, there's going to be a clearinghouse and all these things, I hope it works. I hope it works. I hope it works. Because if it does, that would be unbelievable in the eyes of Greg Schiano. In other words, if the clearinghouse really goes by market value of the student athletes in name, image, and likeness, if it's operated tightly, then the advantages that a Ohio State, that a Michigan, that an Alabama, that a Georgia, that a Penn State, the advantages of their NIL collectives, they're still going to have the advantage, but that advantage shrinks if that clearinghouse is operated tightly. If it's operated loosely, well, then we're not going to see any big difference. But that is the question that Greg Schiano, the interesting thing is going to be what happens to NIL. I've been doing this a long time, Greg Schiano. And there's teams in our league that have paid $25 or $30 million for the roster last year. And I don't think they're going to take a pay cut. So how that all gets sorted out, that's going to be the interesting part. But I don't really care. Schiano might say he doesn't care, but the reality of his program suggests otherwise. Rutgers is the resident in the 18-team Big Ten, which includes the returning college football playoff participants Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, all on the program's 2025 schedule. Ohio State, of course, is the defending national champions. All three of those programs are widely reported to have among the deepest, most expensive, and de facto payrolls in all of college football. The Scarlet Knights are also already dealing with a prominent NIL situation. Jet Elad is an impending NCAA transfer portal addition to the Rutgers program. He transferred from UNLV. He started his career with the Ohio Bobcats. Then he went into junior JUCO football. So again, he is challenging the courts. He believes he should have one more year of eligibility. One more year of eligibility. Schiano won't confirm that Elad could have a $500,000 deal at hand from Rutgers, but he did address this situation. Anyways, that is the story of from Football Scoop, Greg Schiano. A lot of people are going to be like, when people start submitting on July 1st of this year, when schools, when the athletic departments start submitting their NIL, their internal NIL collectives that are going to be in-house, most of them are going to be in-house, and they say, Grateful Trojan, volleyball player, Grateful Trojan, we got a deal for him for $1.3 million. Putting his name, image, and likeness, putting Grateful Trojan's face all over the gas stations in Southern California. $1.3 million. Will that deal get through the clearinghouse? That is going to be a major impactful story on how 25, 26, 27 plays out. Okay. We're going to get to our final story here. We're going to do in the monologue, and then we're going to get to your phone calls. I found this pretty interesting. A lot of people tagged me on this story. This is something that I do believe. I do believe it's been communicated. It most definitely has been communicated to Florida State. What can you do to make yourself more attractive going into a possible, no question, next realignment wave? No doubt about it. Florida State knows exactly where they stand with SEC in the Big Ten. So does Clemson, so does Miami, so does Georgia Tech, so does North Carolina, so does Virginia. There's been enough communication. They all know where they stand. So there are things that they're going to try to improve themselves on. Maryland got the same from the Big Ten. Rutgers got the same information. Nebraska was told that they would have to do stuff with their research. They really haven't done it yet. It's got maybe them in a little bit of trouble. But this is what happens. Oregon and Washington had first-party talks months and months and months prior to them getting the official invite to join the Big Ten. There's no question that Florida State, remember we talked about it here at Peek Around the Corner, Florida State ain't going to give up. They're going to try to attract, they're going to try to become a better potential partner to the SEC, the Big Ten. This is what we are willing to do. I believe that this hospital story, TMH, is part of Florida State's initiative to get into a Power 2. Elena Barrera, the Tallahassee Democrat, Florida State is eager to explore opportunity as city tees up discussions of possible sale of TMH. Florida State University officially expressed its interest in seeing TMH transform into an academic medical center, setting up what could be a collision course with the city's biggest hospital, whose leaders say their independence is vital in retaining its legacy as a trusted community-based healthcare provider. So according to the reports, there is a clash, right? The city's biggest hospital, the leaders want independence, but then again, they're looking to sell, and Florida State is looking to be a buyer. I'm writing to express Florida State University's interest in the potential establishment of an academic medical center in Tallahassee, which is one of the several options included in the recent informational agenda item for the upcoming March 26th City Commission meeting. That is tomorrow. Florida State's President Richard McAuliffe wrote in a letter to commissioners that was posted late Monday afternoon, yesterday. McAuliffe pointed to the university's long-standing relationship with TMH and how hundreds of students and staff are integrated into programs that support healthcare in our community. The establishment of an academic medical center in Tallahassee would align our community with national trends and offers numerous benefits to our city, McAuliffe wrote. Creating this new governance model would enhance healthcare services, attract top-tier medical professionals, and improve health outcomes for residents, he said. McAuliffe, the president of Florida State University, suggested that the two entities, the hospital and the university, are already creating a path for an academic medical center through their partnership in creating the upcoming Florida State University Health Center on the TMH's campus and the acute care hospital under Florida State University Health name in Panama City. And finally, in this update, this is just one part of a bigger article. We're going to go through this last part here. We are eager to explore this opportunity in greater detail and discuss how we can work together with the city of Tallahassee and TMH to bring this vision to fruition, McAuliffe wrote. The Democrat has reached out to TMH for reaction to the letter. Again, hopefully maybe we get an update late March 26th, this Wednesday or Thursday, about the meeting. But I find this is the type of story that I find interesting. I think it has traction. I'm interested in this because this is the brass tacks that when you're talking about realignment, if the FSU is talking to the Big Ten, which they are, this is what you talk about. This is what you talk about. Because all these other Big Ten universities that are AAU have a medical center involved with them. The research, I mean, it's all part of that university umbrella. This is something that Nebraska is trying to do, by the way. They don't have a medical hospital, research hospital, anything hospital on campus tied to Lincoln, Nebraska, but they're trying to pull that in by bringing Omaha campus and Kearney campus on board under the Lincoln, Nebraska umbrella so they can check that box. So this is the type of story that I really appreciate, like the 20 people who sent me the story. Thank you so very much. Because this is important. This is important. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to keep an eye on this story. And for those in the PATC family, keep your head on a swivel, especially those in Tallahassee. When there is an updated report on this story, let me know. Send it to my DM on X, or let me know here in the chat room on the next live show. Let me know. Keep me updated on this story. So there you have it. We've been through the Andrew Luck making a move, firing Troy Taylor. Good move, in my opinion. I got Jason Garrett as number 1 on the hot board. I know that sounds crazy. It's probably not going to happen, but he's our number 1 for right now. Schiano, Football Scoop, talking about the clearinghouse. Is it going to be operated tightly or loosely? And that is going to impact competitiveness throughout college football for the next couple of years. The more tight is operated, the less gap of NIL money, right? We're going to have a less gap, a smaller gap between money that's going out to the student athletes, the football players at the top end programs versus those at the middle or the bottom. Or if it's going to be loose, then it ain't going to matter. We talked about that, and then we talked about the Florida State Hospital. Let me get to your phone calls. You can call us up, talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. The phone number, 763-260-1333. 760. I'm sorry. That is not the number. 763-260-1333. Let me have it. Give me a call. Talk about anything in college football that you desire. Did Andrew Luck make the right move? I think most people think he did. Yes, Nebraska lost AAU status for not having a hospital. Partly, yes.
Call from
the Crab 5.
I'm sorry, is this crab cakes in football?
It is. I just had to change it for this tournament.
Got it. No problem. I recognize the voice. I did not recognize the handle. Go ahead, sir. I'm glad you called, Mr. Terrapin. So your athletic director, what's going on? Well, who's going to be your new athletic director?
I do not know, but I hope it's somebody that is more in tune with all the sports and not just trying to turn us football-centric.
Okay.
Because that's the problem. They're trying to make us a football school, and we're not naturally a football school. You know, we'll take an 8 or 10 win season or 5 or whatever we get in football, and we'll just try to do what we can, what we're good at, which is a lot of other sports. So, but it is what it is. And your Jason Garrett, he's a yes man. So I think he would fit perfectly under Andrew Luck. I mean, he was that way with the Dallas Cowboys. He was that way. I mean, he's just a yes man. So, and, you know, I haven't been able to call in lately, but I've been keeping up with your show for the most part. And
I appreciate it.
So the Big Ten's number 1 target has been and always will be Notre Dame. So
yeah. And then after that, it's North Carolina. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Notre Dame never even budges and North Carolina was to come, let's just say they make a decision 5 years down the road, hey, we want to join the Big Ten, would they jump in front of and get the spot before Notre Dame, or would they still wait for Notre Dame before they allowed them to join?
No, if North Carolina calls the Big Ten at any time and says we want to join the Big Ten, that's going to happen. If North Carolina calls the SEC and says we want to join the SEC, that's going to happen.
Right. I just know that our number 1 target has always been Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, the number 1 target is Notre Dame, but again...
But you got like a 1A, 1B.
Yeah, but again, if North Carolina wants... I mean, so this is... this is like the Big Ten. Everybody who talks to me believes the following. What, when, and who, and what North Carolina does, that is what the Big Ten's waiting for. If North Carolina goes to the SEC, if it's announced tomorrow or 4 months from now, then the Big Ten is going to gauge what Notre Dame's reaction is. If North Carolina goes to the Big Ten, and I think that's the underdog right now, I don't think that's the chalk, but if that would happen, then the Big Ten's going to want to gauge Notre Dame's reaction. Then the Big Ten's going to act on Notre Dame's reaction. So if North Carolina goes to the SEC with somebody, let's say Virginia, and Big Ten checks in with Notre Dame, and Notre Dame says, no, we're committed to independence 2029. Then at that time, we talk about the Miami, the Duke, the Clemson, the Florida State, Georgia Tech, Stanford. That is when we talk about that as a potential instigating expansion in the Big Ten. But it's that North Carolina piece. We believe, and if we end up being wrong, I'll take the L, but we think that is the piece that's going to be moved first. And that piece, that North Carolina piece, when it moves first in our belief, if it's North Carolina and somebody, okay, then Big Ten checks in with Notre Dame. But if it's North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson all going to the SEC, that is also a possibility. But it's the North Carolina piece, whatever is attached to North Carolina, then the Big Ten checks in with Notre Dame one last time to see, okay, is that enough? That's what we believe is the scenarios at play.
All right. And now, basing it, obviously, the more teams you get inside of a conference, the more expensive it is for the next team to join to meet the criteria, because you got to add to the pie. You can't be equal or below, because no one's going to give up money for someone joining. So with value based on value, those are the only two teams I think that qualify would be Notre Dame and North Carolina. But I got one other scenario for you, and this is going to play the other side of the coin. Where it would value be found if, let's say, a TCU and a Florida State, by bringing the states of Texas and Florida in at the same time, that would be huge. And is that a play that you think that could be made regardless?
What a play for the Big Ten?
Yeah, you've already got the California mark. You got Washington.
Yeah.
You've got okay, but now Florida by itself. Okay, we can wait on that. But if you get some Texas piece to come with Florida,
but the Big Ten would have this, and I'm sure they've had the same conversation. They would have the same conversation with a Texas Tech and a TCU that they're having with Florida State. Okay, it's like there's a certain like-mindedness that they want that university to get to, and then they want that university to be able to grow in that for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So that's what they're looking for. So they'd be having, we just did an episode on TCU. TCU is they're going to try to win football games like everybody else to make sure that they survive the next Armageddon. That was the word that they used in the article. And they're going to try to bump up their R2 to R1 in research. And, they're doing a lot of things at TCU. Texas Tech, same thing. They're all doing this, and there's a lot of communication back and forth, third-party. People know what they need to do. Florida State knows what they need to do.
Okay.
And this is, I think, probably a major part of what they're trying to get accomplished.
All right, Greg. Well, man, it's been a long time since I heard from you.
You got it.
All right, man.
You
Have
got
fun.
it. Appreciate it. Great
sir.
call. Great call. Nice to hear from Mr. Terrapin. So no, in all due respect to Texas Tech, TCU, and any other university in the state of Texas, I don't believe they're jumping ahead on the candidates list of these ACC schools. I don't think that's in play right now.
Call from
Evil Badger.
Evil Badger, Ryan Willie is on the line.
To send a voicemail,
Whoops.
press 2.
What did I do? I did not hit the right button. Are you there, Ryan Willie?
Yes, I am.
I apologize. Congratulations, national champions. 4th time since 2019. Let it rip. The floor is yours.
8-time overall
Yes,
national
sir.
champion. I have one question, Greg, as
Yes,
far
sir.
as Notre Dame goes. With all this expansion, and if, let's say, North Carolina goes to the SEC, do you think the Notre Dame would go to or make a deal with the SEC for like the kind of stuff they got now with the ACC, or would they just, once the ACC implodes, go to the Big Ten?
If I'm gonna give you my best shot on this, Ryan Willie, I do not foresee a Notre Dame having a scheduling deal with the SEC and where they're gonna move their Olympic sports. I don't think they're. If the ACC takes on too much water, if they implode, I think that is the thread that moves Notre Dame to the Big Ten. Notre Dame, Ryan Willie, Notre Dame loves their independence in football. One of the reasons that they love their independence in football is they can control their schedule. So they can go out to the West Coast, they can play the East Coast, because there is Notre Dame fans, alumni everywhere. Fans, there are obviously a national brand. So they're big out in California, they're big out in Los Angeles, they're big out in the East Coast, they're big in the Midwest, they're big in Chicago. The Big Ten now, for the first time really, can give them a national platform because the Big Ten is a national conference. I don't believe that Notre Dame, as powerful and valuable as the SEC is, and they are, I don't think Notre Dame would be looking at a SEC region. I don't think that would satisfy the Notre Dame, what they're trying to do. So I believe that the Big Ten is waiting on the North Carolina piece to be moved. What does North Carolina do? And then the impact of that decision on Notre Dame. That's why I'm not a believer in War Chant or anyone else's, and they do a great job, and I'm sure they have great sources, but I cannot get there. There's no way for me to get there to believe that Big Ten they're instigating expansion talks with anybody right now, except for North Carolina and obviously Notre Dame. Go ahead, sir.
Excuse me, but I do have one follow-up. So you said that you believe that North Carolina is a first domino to fall.
Yeah, I've been saying that for quite a long time. Yes, sir.
How long do you think it will take for the other dominoes to fall in the ACC once and North Carolina moves?
I don't think very great question, by the way, and I don't think it's going to take very long at all.
Okay, well, that's all I had for you today, Greg.
You got it,
Thanks
buddy.
for taking my call.
I appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right.
You got it.
Right.
Great call. Ryan Willie, great call. Morris Simmons, I'm hearing mixed messages with the possibility of SEC. SEC will make a last minute offer.
Call from
Rick?
Rick is on the line. Thanks for calling, Rick. The floor is yours.
By my calculations, we're 2 weeks away from House v. NCAA settlement.
Yes, March 7th. Yes, and hopefully the one ruling I do not want to see is a delay, right? No delay, please. But I think everyone believes it's gonna go on. It's gonna, the ruling's gonna go. It's gonna get done. Everyone is working on that. I mean, St. Francis Division I athletics and basketball and stuff and football, they've just announced that they're moving to D3. St. Francis just was eliminated in the NC. They got in the first play-in game in basketball. They had just won their first game against an FBS opponent the year prior, and now they're moving down to D3 because of that House versus NCAA. They believe it's going to pass. Everyone does. But go ahead, sir.
And I agree. It probably will pass in 2 weeks. But here we are, 2 weeks away from that passing, and you and me and Greg Schiano don't know how the clearinghouse works.
I mean, he might have a better idea. I do not know how it's going to work. I've heard like rumors like they're going to use like AI, artificial intelligence, to where, a student athlete, this is the money they're going to get for this in this region of the country and this business. And I don't know if the ultimate decision is going to be decided by AI or some computer algorithm or something. I think they're going to use some tool because, Rick, I mean, there's going to be a lot of submissions, right?
A lot of them. A lot of them.
So there's got to be some. So how tight that is or how loose that is in passing in clearing these deals, saying, yeah, okay, that one's. We're okay with this one. We're not okay with this one. I don't know, man. I think that is a massive story and how this is going to work, or how, like, if it's operated tightly or loosely. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, it's going to be a whole bunch of opinions.
I don't even know if it's going to be like an opinion. That's my point. Like, I think they're going to put some. I'm not sure. Okay, I could be wrong here, but I think they're going to put a bunch of data into the computer about a submission, and then this algorithm, AI, or whatever you want to call it, this tool is going to say, this passed the clearinghouse, this one got rejected.
Well, if I'm the pretend agent for John Doe, the premier quarterback, and I don't like your AI opinion, what's my recourse?
Well, I do, and I've also heard that you can readjust the deal and try to pass it through again. I don't think you're just going to get an X. I think you're going to be told how far off, like what is the value of this deal.
Like a price range on my house by a realtor.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know. I'm doing a lot of speculating right now. But I did hear that it's not going to be just 6 people or 60 people at a table looking at these deals. There's going to be some tool used in figuring out if the deal passes or not.
You think me and my hypothetical client could litigate that if it was a problem?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there'll be whatever. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's going to be people taking everything to court. I mean, you know, yeah. Yep.
But it doesn't have to be that way. They've had a year to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, you know, again,
I mean, this is all NCAA decision.
well, no, not really. I mean, the FBS conferences, the 4 power conferences opted into this. The schools signed off on it. The president signed off on it. This was part of the so and if they would not have signed off on it, then the back pay would have been not $2.8 billion, but $20 billion. So,
well, they signed off on the House agreement.
yes,
and
they did.
And the terms of this new entity, this clearinghouse.
Yeah, but it
the
was the
player-
president's.
but
It was the
but the
president's.
player-
Go
But
ahead.
the players, their agents didn't sign off on it.
Whose agents?
The players.
No,
The
but the
people-
players
the
are
people-
sign. But the players are opting in or opting out. And some of them, it was announced today what players opted out. There's more players opting out, and there's players opting in, players opting out. And so what will happen is the players that are opting in are going to be part of the rev share, but also going to be constrained possibly by this clearinghouse mechanism. And the players that are opting out are not going to get the rev share, but they're also, they believe they're not going to be constrained by their NIL situation.
But if I'm a player who opted out, I'm going to sue for lost revenue.
Look, there's no, I don't care what, I agree with you, but there's going to be players and people suing no matter what they set up. I mean, there's people suing all the time. I agree. Look, the perfect world is a collective bargaining agreement, right?
Couldn't agree more.
But we're not there, and so I'm dealing with what we got now. And yeah, people, go ahead, sue. I'm not gonna. I'll tell you what I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna cover every suit. I mean, there's more and more suits going on, and look, player, make your decision. This is the game right now. You're getting more compensation than ever before. Sign that, opt in, sign that contract with the team that's probably going to have a buyout, or don't. It ain't all going to be rosy. It's not going to be rosy. It just isn't.
That was the same premises 5 years ago or 10 years ago when it was, hey, you're getting a scholarship, you're getting a full ride.
Yeah.
Shut up and take your money.
Yeah. Niko Medved just became the head coach of Minnesota, and Minnesota just wrote Colorado State a $3.1 million buyout. So if a player signs with a team, he's getting paid, but he doesn't like his situation, he's going to have way more freedom than an NFL player, an MLB player, because you're not going to be able to constrict his movement. He's going to have the ability to go to another school, but for him to go there and play, that school's going to have to pay for the buyout, just like they do with the coaches. So
you and I are on the same page. We know the only sane result is collective bargaining, and everything in between, everything that goes along or strings us along another year and another year and another change.
Yeah, I agree, but I want to make this clear. I am not, like, every inch along the way here, I'm not going to end up saying, well, it's not collective bargaining, so therefore this absolutely sucks and it's evil and cruel and everything. I'm going to take this story day by day. I'm sorry, player. I'm sorry, coach. When you sign a deal, it's going to be somewhat binding. There's going to be a buyout. You're going to have to look, I'm not gonna completely roll over for the activists on both sides of these issues, and they're out there, baby. They're out there. This is the world.
They always have been.
Yeah, this is the world that you're living in now. You're getting more money than guys and gals did 5 years ago. If you sign that contract, and if you want to get out of it, there's going to be a buyout. So that's just the way. And if you're going to sue on that, go ahead and sue. But I mean, it's gotten to the point of players have an option. This is not the perfect world for them, no question about it. But it's, this is what we got. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I completely forgot now what it is. I forgot what it is. Go ahead, sir. Anything else?
No, that's a wrap. I've been on too long.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to finish it offline. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Tough Tony. Great call by Rick again, and I agree with Tough Tony. Like, collective bargaining in college sports is not happening with the current Commerce Committee. Well, it wasn't going to happen before that. But going back to this collective bargaining, I mean, even if you had collective bargaining, it ain't going to be run it's not going to be run like a total professional league. It isn't. It can't be run like a complete amateur, but it doesn't work. It's not going to work. So even in this world of collective bargaining, when we get to it, it can't run like an NFL. So there's going to be some stuff that the student athletes are not going to be able to get, and there's some stuff that the owners are not going to be able to get, like the conferences and the institutions. You're never going to have a draft. You're never going to have a draft. You're never going to have a draft because the student athletes are going to be able to decide where they want to go to college. They're going to college. So you're not going to be able to, the collective bargaining agreement in the NFL, there's a draft. Right? You've got 32 franchises, ownership. That's all part of the collective bargaining. You're not going to have that in this, if we do get to a collective bargaining in college athletics. So that already makes it a big difference. And the student athletes are going to have requirements like in regards to your academics. It affects a handful of players every year. You can't just skip class. It's always going to, and then you got the Title IX issues, and you've got the issue of these athletic departments. One of their missions is to create more opportunities for more student athletes. They don't want to cut sports. So football has to sort of carry them, right? And people say that's not fair and the top players should get all the money, blah, 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 blah. But it ain't going to quite be like that either. It's not going to be completely professional. It's not going to be the amateur hour anymore. Somewhere in between. And I've already come to this conclusion. I've said since episode 1 of this channel, collective bargaining agreement is the way to go. But even if there was collective bargaining agreement, God, there's still going to be people suing because there just are. I mean, there are hyper activists out there, and from both sides. And so that's why I'm kind of I will cover these suits as much as I can to make sure that we're all aware of what's going on. But I'm going to talk more about college football and everything, and not so much get into the courts anymore. I'm done babbling. The phone lines are open, 763-260-1333, 763 260-1333. Give us a call. Rod Nix, we did talk about that. It was part of our live show, part of our monologue earlier on this live show. We talked about the potentiality of Florida State aligning themselves with the Tallahassee Medical Hospital. We went through an article from the Democrat, Tallahassee Democrat. What is the name of that? The Tallahassee Democrat. We went through that article. If you missed it, go back and give it a watch. We've talked about a lot of things on this live show, Tuesday, March 25th. And if you missed our episode on TCU, go to the library, our YouTube library of episodes. Episodes 427, we released it today. TCU Athletic Director Mike Buddy discusses investment versus expectations for TCU. So go check that out as well. No problem. No problem. Yeah, I mean, I'm really AMAC puts in the comment, talking about collective bargaining right now is just wasting your breath. About a couple months ago, I said, like, it's what I would want. Obviously, I've been talking about it for 3 years. But we are so far away from that happening that I just want to get some structure. I want to get some guidelines. I want some guardrails. I will even go for a carve-out at this point, and I don't think we're going to get that as well. I'm not looking for perfection anymore. I'm not.
Call from
Steel Austin.
Steel Austin, Mr. Utah Ute. Thanks for calling, my friend. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Hey, we've had a little bit of talk today and in the chat room about Nebraska, and I just was curious. It sounded like from other that Nebraska, even though we all know that the Big Ten is never going to kick anybody out, it sounded like Nebraska leadership has felt a little bit of anxiety because of the fact that they've lost their AAU status and their research is down and that they need to pick it back up and they're feeling a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, there was three. We did like 3 different live shows on that because there was 3 separate and different articles that were written about it, and you had different leaders of Nebraska talking about it. The first one was President Carter, and then when he left, the interim president at the time, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I think it's something like Bavacqua, the same last name as Notre Dame's athletic director. I believe I've got that right, but I'm not sure. But whatever. The interim at the time, at least, he talked about it. Alberts, the athletic director, talked about it. Steve Sipple reported on it. McKeon reported on it.
Yep.
So
I just,
go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to run a scenario past you and get your thoughts on it. But I'm just curious, after the SEC gets what they want out of the ACC, let's just say hypothetically speaking, it's North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, and Clemson. I'm just curious, could you ever see a scenario where Colorado and Nebraska get the ear of Colorado and Kansas get the ear of Nebraska and form a package deal to move over to the SEC? And the reason why I say that is the SEC likes to stay contiguous. And if that would keep the SEC footprint completely contiguous. It just moves up with, Kansas and then Nebraska and Colorado right next to it and maintains all the rivalries between those former schools. So just curious if you think that Nebraska would ever consider defecting from the Big to go to the SEC
They'd still be a P2 member. The money's pretty much the same either way, but they just feel more like an SEC school to me than a Big Ten school. And I'm just curious what you think.
It's a great speculative question. I'm pretty sure that scenario is definitely not in play with the current president that just brought in. I want to say his name is Gould or something. I guess I wouldn't completely rule it out. I don't know about the Colorado-Kansas part of it though. And I'm not sure if the SEC
And real quickly, my assumption is based on my thought is based on the assumption that both leagues are going to go to 24 teams.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, 6, 7, 8 years from now, is that obviously? I guess there's a sliver of a chance of that happening. A sliver.
You don't like it though.
Well, I mean, a team, a school leaving the Big Ten, because I don't think they're going to get kicked out. I think Nebraska is. I don't know why they got so unnerved. I'm sure they've gotten heat, but there's no way. I don't think Nebraska's going to get kicked out. So the question is. So the question is, does Nebraska just figure there's a better home in the SEC? I don't know if the SEC would do that. I don't know, man. I think it's a very, very, very small chance of that happening, but I'm not going to completely close the door. That's my best shot at it.
Awesome. Well, that's all I had, Greg. Just wanted to throw it past you, but I appreciate your insight.
You got it. Appreciate it.
Great show, man. Thanks for all you do.
Great speculation.
Talk to you later.
You got I just don't hold the same fear as the Nebraska leaders. I don't see that. Jeff Crab Cakes and Football, the ultimate yes man, talking about Jason Garrett. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. I appreciate the generosity so very much. John Teal, how about Byron Leftwich for Stanford? I think sure. I mean that's the interesting name, but I would guess that there would be more of a head coach at a very high level type of candidate that Andrew Luck would go for. But Brian Leftwich, sure. Interesting name. Thank you for dropping that interesting name in the chat room. John Till, thank you for the super chat as well. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much. Interesting. Replica Mr. Longhorn, a member for 1 whole year. Holy smokes. 12 months, officially knighted, cloak and dagger. Wow. Based on Mike Buddy's comments as well as some whispers I've heard as a Fort Worth native, it sure seems like Sonny Dykes' seat is getting warm. Wow. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Boy, that'd be difficult for me to. Wow. That'd be a big wow. I know, and they had a good year last year, so I don't know if I'm buying that. I do not know if I'm buying that, but I get a lot of Horned Frogs comments. They are very active in the PATC family. I get a lot of them on DMs, and some of them don't like Dykes at all because they think, and they went to the championship game, for God's sakes. How can he be on the, how could his seat be getting warm? But I do know that some don't like his personality. Like it's a personality thing. I don't know. Wow. Thank you, Replica. Thank you so much for the membership once again. I appreciate it. Ryan Willie, I'd be taking a break from YouTube podcasts. I love going to Brewer games during the spring and summer. I do not blame you, Mr. Ryan Willie. Baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers. Are they going to be good this year, Ryan? Are they expected to challenge for the division title? Are they going for the pennant? Are they going to go for the World Series, Mr. Ryan Willie? Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your generosity. I very much appreciate it. Let me know, Ryan. Let me know. I know you're taking a break from YouTube. Please at least check in once in a while. I would appreciate it. I got to get some information, Badger information on Billy Edwards this summer and everything that is going on in Badgerland. But let me know what you think, how the Brewers are going to do this year. Appreciate the super chat. Jose USC. Enjoy your spring break at the ballpark. Ryan Willie. Jose, member for 16 months. Thank you for your generosity, Jose, being a member for 16 months. Wow. Fantastic. USC Trojan saying to an evil Badger, enjoy your spring break. That is what the Big Ten expansion has given us. A Trojan talking to a Badger. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Miller Park is a nice place to watch a game. Tough Tony. Tough Tony. I'll be happy if they finish ahead of the Cubs. Devil Frog, Riff Ram Bazoo. Rod Nix. Truist Park and the Braves, Greg, come on down. John Grove, Greg, I'm starting to think besides private equity or private capital, the rest of the Big 12 schools don't have too many avenues like Kansas would. There might be a couple other ones in there, but, well, hopefully we'll find out about Brett Yormark and his attempt to get a private capital deal into the Big 12 Conference. I'm guessing we're going to find out by the end of March or early April because there's a certain inertia to it, right? You either punch that deal over the goal line or it gets stopped. And, of course, the reports of The Athletic and Yahoo, Ross Dellinger, that Brett Yormark was weeks away from a decision and Redbird Capital was the favorite. They were the leader. But, of course, one of those options was not to do a private capital deal, right? So we're going to find out, I think, pretty soon. No, I don't, Azon the Kid. I do not have any more information on KU. Kenneth Maynard, Kansas would be a great ad for the Big Ten to be in the Midwest pod with Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Okay, I think we're gonna lock it up. I believe we've been on the air for an hour and a half. I'm gonna take the wife out for some good food. She came back home from Mexico Mexico City and Veracruz, Mexico. She came back late last night. Then we did a late live show last night. If you missed it, go check it out. Florida State, what War Chant is reporting. Go check out our response to that report. I appreciate everybody coming on in. I appreciate the donations, the support, the incredible support from Mr. Hoosier, Ricky Tungate, Amazing Blue, Jeff Crabcakes and Football, John Till, Replica, Ryan, Willie, and Jose. Thank you guys so much for your support, your donations. Thank you for the great phone calls once again, and the comments in the comments section. Keep your head on a swivel. We are going towards April 7th. House versus NCAA, the settlement being finally approved in total by the judge. We're heading towards that. We're heading towards a lot of dramatic stuff. So keep your head on a swivel. Buckle up and brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.